Hello everyone, I'm now going to show you how to shade your Lego selfie using your coloured pencils. So you should have already done a practice with the coloured pencils when you were just practicing drawing different shapes and working with layering. Now it's time to apply it to your Lego person. So if you have a look at your Lego person and you can't see any really obvious shadows, you need to emphasize those shadows. You need to make them stand out more. So if you see somewhere that looks a bit lighter, you might leave it as more of a white spot. If you see somewhere that looks a little bit darker, you might make it a little bit darker than it is in the picture. And that's going to help your picture to look really, really 3D. So that's called emphasizing your contrast. So I'm going to start by defining the main features on the face. So I've got my black pencil and I've made sure it's really, really sharp. And I'm just going really slowly and really carefully over the areas that I've marked out to be the eyes, the mouth. If you want to leave them till last, that's okay. If you want to do them first, be very careful just to not put your other colours over the top of them, because it might end up, if it drags out into your yellow area surrounding, it might end up making it look a little bit grey because you've got some black pencil here. If you want to change the colours of your picture, you can. You don't need to do it yellow. You might decide to do maybe tones that reflect your skin tone. You might decide to be a bit more creative with your colours, so long as you're still using tonal range. So I'm just going to quickly finish colouring that in. You'll notice that I've got my squiggly lines everywhere to represent my lights and darks. And you will also notice that I have decided to leave the patterns or the different shapes off the front of the body here. So if you decide that you want to change the way your clothes on your person look, maybe you want to put some flowers or a different pattern or a logo, you can do that, that's fine. It's up to you if you want to make a few adjustments to your Lego person. So I'm going to lightly erase the lines in the area where I'm going to work. The reason we don't keep them this light the whole time is because as we're working, they might actually get rubbed off by our hands. So we only make them really light when we're just about to start colouring. And I'm just trying to blow those erasings off because I don't want to smudge that black with my hand. Okay, so I'm going to put, same with the circle, I'm going to put the base colour everywhere except for where I need to leave white. So my white area is over here, and I'm going to try and leave this whole side a little bit light to yellow, so I'm going to build it up really gradually. So fading it off to where that lighter section is. Using little circles and a nice sharp pencil. And as I start getting over to this side, I'm going to start layering it more so that my yellow starts to be a little bit thicker. So I'm not pressing too much harder, I'm just layering it more. Maybe leave doing the eyes and the mouth until last if you're not sure about everything, because then you won't end up smudging your black into your yellow area. So I think if you all leave it till last, that would be better. So hopefully you can see that I'm starting to create a bit of a gradient, getting lighter as it gets towards the right. And I'm being careful to stay inside the lines So it's getting a little bit lighter as it gets towards the right hand side. There's a little bit of an orangey tone, so I'm going to put that in. But I don't want my Lego person to look too much like a carrot, so I'm going to put a bit of brown through that as well, and that will help to hide any of the really, really bright orange tones that come through. So just a little bit of this colour. And then hopefully you remember what you need to do when you've applied another layer, and that is to take your lighter pencil and try to blend it in a little bit more. So taking that lighter pencil and blending that in. So now I'm going to take my brown and I'm going to start using that to build up the shadows so I can still faintly see my lines. So I'm just going to make sure that as I get towards those lines, I'm starting to fade the colour out. And again, I'm using little tiny circles as I apply this colour. So you can see you've got sort of 3 tones. There's probably a 4th one along the side here. So we'll need to put that one in as well. If you've pressed a little bit hard as you're transferring, you will get some lines showing through your coloured pencil. So you need to get a really sharp pencil and just fill those lines if that happens with yours. So then I'm going to blend with my lighter pencil. And then I'm going to look at my picture and see where I need more blending. So same as you did with your tonal scale and your practice pencil drawings, you need to work back into it. You need to keep reviewing it. You need to take your time. I'm starting to apply a little bit more pressure now. I'm seeing a bit of a line showing up here, so I'm just going to try and... It's a little bit hard to get rid of, unfortunately, because I have pressed a little bit too hard. So just make sure you're being really gentle with your transfers. And then I'm going to take it a step further and do that extra dark shadow along the side there, and that's really going to start to make this stand out as a little bit more 3D. So sometimes when we're shading, it can look a little bit too dark because everything around it is white, but once we manage to fill in the whole picture, it won't look too dark anymore. So you need to be confident with your shadows, and you need to put them in exactly as you see it in the picture over here. Notice how I've also folded my picture on the side so that I can get it really nice and close without the page covering what I'm doing. And then we can do the next section. Same thing again. So emphasizing my light side, emphasizing my shadows, making sure to not make the neck and the face the same color, so having a little bit of difference between the two so they don't end up mashing together. So I'm just going to emphasize that line there to make sure that the face and the neck are nice and separated. So blending with my lighter color. When you've finished your whole picture, you're going to get a fine liner and go over the edges. So I'll show you sort of what that looks like if I were using just a black pencil. You'll use a fine liner for yours. You can go around and give everything a nice crisp outline, and sometimes that just helps to make a lovely coloured pencil shading stand out a little bit more. So you'll do that when you finish doing everything. If you want to, you don't have to. So that's how you do coloured pencil shading. You'll need to do that for the whole thing. You can have a look at the pictures that are on the online lesson. There are some samples on there with Lego people showing some different ways you can put shadows onto them if you don't actually have shadows on your picture. So have a look at the other pictures, have a look at where the shadows and highlights are on those ones, and try to copy that into your image. So looking for lights, looking for mediums, looking for darks. The reason I've let you transfer your picture is because I'm marking your person on the shading. So if you don't do shading, there's not a lot for me to mark. You need to do some shading. Otherwise, I would not have let you transfer your picture. Your background, you will get to freehand draw and be creative with, so you don't need to do shading in the background. But on your Lego person, you need to make sure you're doing shading. Good luck. Make sure you send me some photos as you go, and feel free to ask me any questions along the way.